When a teenager escaped from the madness of her father's murderous polygamous cult, it didn't protect her from a terrible tragedy years later.
That's the story told by Anna LeBaron in her new book. And tonight we continue our coverage on the polygamous daughter. Mike?
Yeah, for decades, news specialist John Hollenhorst has been tracking that saga of about 36 murders. Well, last night he told us of Anna's escape at the age of 13. Tonight, from Dallas, the story of her dead father, Anna LeBaron, striking back from beyond the grave.
This Christian church helped Anna LeBaron make peace with her relatives and with herself. It healed fearsomely painful wounds that only got worse after she fled from the cult of her father, polygamist Anna LeBaron. His followers killed dozens of people in the 1970s and 80s.
I didn't feel I was rejecting my family as much as I was reaching for something else.
At age 13 in Houston, Anna ran away and joined her sister Lillian and her husband, Mark Chinoth. Ervil had just died in the Utah State Prison.
My father being put in prison is the best thing that could have happened to any of us.
Mark was involved in Ervil's murder plots in the 70s, but in the 80s, Lillian and Mark were trying to make new lives.
He was a loving, caring, compassionate, gentle man.
They became Anna's surrogate parents and enrolled her in a Christian school. As she grew up, Anna's life was getting on an even keel. But then the murders began again. Ervil's right-hand man, Dan Jordan, was gunned down at a camp in central Utah. Ervil, before he died, had turned against several followers who disobeyed his orders from the Utah State Prison.
He had ordered all his followers to come and bust him out of jail, guns a-blazing, and obviously that was a suicide mission, so nobody would do it.
Years after his death, Ervil's fanatical sons and daughters were carrying out a hit list Ervil wrote in Scripture behind bars.
The Book of the New Covenant. And in there was a list of names of people that had turned their back on the truth, and it was a very frightening time.
Then in 1988, the most horrible of LeBaron crimes, 3 teams of assassins struck simultaneously in Dallas and Houston. The 4 o'clock murders killed 4 people, among them Anna's beloved brother Eddie Marston and her surrogate father Mark Chinoth, gunned down at the appliance store where he worked.
I should have been there at the office with him that day.
Anna worked there too, but was homesick that day.
I would have absolutely been killed had I been with Mark that day.
We covered the quadruple funeral in Houston almost 30 years ago. I've never forgotten Anna's surrogate mom, Lillian Chinoth, in anguish over Mark's death. A few months later, Lillian herself committed suicide.
That was a really rough day for everybody.
We showed Anna that old video.
Oh, wow.
And the memories flooded back.
Lillian and her children.
As she relived one of the darkest days of her life.
Oh, yes, that's me.
She's had to forgive not only her father, but a brother.
Here's Heber, right here.
Who pulled the trigger on Mark Chinoth.
I've grieved a lot.
It took decades of therapy and a new religious faith. According to pastor counselor Bob Hamp, Anna had to come to grips with a father, almost always absent, who still projected confusing messages.
Distance and uncaring and even abusive and cruel, and yet somehow portraying all those things as benevolent. That experience of a father had to be somehow replaced by someone or something.
It leaves you longing for something that you've never experienced.
Anna found her father figure in God. It finally healed the wounds.
I feel like I have overcome that. I am now proud to be a LeBaron. I am proud of my family because of everything we have overcome.
She has a nice home in the Dallas suburbs and 5 kids of her own, mostly grown up.
Oh, it's absolutely a happy ending. My story is one of redemption, restoration, and dreams coming true.
Anna recently reconciled with her mother, from whom she ran away at age 13. Anna Mae Marston lives to this day at age 85, still a believer in a polygamous community in Utah. 4 of Anna's siblings, half-siblings, and step-siblings are serving life sentences without parole. John Hollenhorst, KSL 5 News.